Hey everyone, just to let you know that this video has a few swears in it and also covers some triggering topics such as alcohol abuse, so please click away if you do not want to watch this. Thank you. What's up everyone, my name is Alex and I use he, him, his pronouns or AMR's pronouns, and I wanted to talk about being a bad person. It's not really a bummer of a video, but it's a lot more serious than the other stuff that I've got going on right now. So bear with me. This was the only video that I wrote such a detailed outline for. It's not a script, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting. So basically, I wanted to talk about the things that I've done in the past and ways that I've harmed people as well as myself and what I am doing about that right now. Self-improvement and kindness is a skill. I've come to learn that you have to work at it, and some people are better at it than others. Some people need help to get it right, and I've always thought that maybe I'm not such a great person because I am so terrible at the self-improvement thing. What do I analyze that doesn't sound self-deprecating? I mean, I know analyzing your own bad behavior, it sounds like it would be self-deprecating, but I think there's a difference between having a low standard for yourself and actually analyzing the things that need improvement, behavior-wise or whichever. I have repeatedly been what you'd call a fuck-up. I've hurt people in the past. I've acted selfishly. I've lashed out. I don't know if you knew this, but I have issues with anger. I have issues maintaining a level head. I've never hurt anyone physically. I've never hit anybody or really broken anything. I did when I was a teenager, but I mean, teenagers get stressed. That's a completely different thing. Being a kid and throwing tantrums, that's a little bit different. But in my adult life, I've never hit anybody or broken anything, or anything like that. But just lashing out, being angry generally, vindictiveness is definitely an issue that I struggle with. Feelings of pettiness and just not letting things go, I think, is a really big issue for me. Something happens that feels like I wasn't, I was wronged in a way, and that doesn't leave me. I'm the kind of person that comes back to an argument later to add more, more fuel to the fire. I'm really the kind of person who needs to have the last word, I guess. I used to have a drinking problem. I am actually over 6 months sober right now, which is fantastic for me. It feels amazing, and I don't think that's changing anytime soon. But I used to drink as my go-to for just really not feeling well. Not really anger, though. Usually depression. I've done that, and I've said some stupid things while drunk, so that's a thing. I've talked about lashing out, both in person and online. I think that I took solace in being anonymous on some platforms, and my stances were in the right place. Being a so-called activist, but being a very angry one with no understanding of what other people's stances or intentions were, rather. So my stances were in the right place. Behavior, not so much. I think Hank Green had a very interesting discussion about that recently on Instagram. He talked about, the quote comes from someone else. I don't remember the exact quote, but it's basically meet people where they're at. I refuse to see that. Like, people right now aren't in the same place that I'm at right now. And I have to understand where others are at in understanding a topic or their involvement or how they're affected by a specific social issue. And that was not something I was very good at. And that's something I'm still working on. I have an obsessive personality. I'm kind of pushy. Not anything terribly. I have a failure to read situations, and I have a tendency to obsess over certain issues or certain things, because, I mean, I just mentioned, like, not being able to let things go, having a very obsessive personality in that way. I'm the person to go and look at what other people are posting after I've already, like, blocked them, that kind of thing, I guess. Holding grudges, obsessing over issues that happened months or even years ago. I don't know if they're intrusive thoughts. I mean, I do struggle with intrusive thoughts. That has nothing to do with this video, but I struggle with obsessing over, like, being wronged and then holding a grudge over that and obsessing over all the things I could have said in the moment. And, like, what if I had said this instead? What if I contact this person right now and say this thing? And sometimes I do bother people who were involved in an issue, and I'll be like, hey, listen, another thing, and just spill out all of my feelings about the thing unwarranted. And that's definitely not okay. I don't think I would enjoy if someone had an issue with me years ago and then came and kind of dumped that on me. But I am that kind of person, and that kind of ties in with, like, the whole obsessive thing. Outside of, obsession, anger issues, stuff like that, very neglectful of my relationships with people. I neglect friends. I'm very bad at keeping in touch, which, I mean, some people struggle with that. Like, that doesn't make someone a bad person, but I failed to be trustworthy, and I push people away at, like, a moment's notice, without giving any kind of reason. I feel like I kind of make excuses. I look for reasons to push people away, and I just cut people out of my life so easily because I'm so bad at maintaining friendships. I don't have a lot of friends. I don't have very many. I mean, I don't have any long-term friends, to be totally honest, because just things in the past have caused me to cut them out of my life, and not all of it was their fault. That's just how a lot of my friendships ended up, I guess. Other general things: lying about how I feel, making excuses for my behavior. Making excuses is definitely a struggle. Just not really being self-aware enough of my behavior, I guess. I laid out all those things, just literally my own issues with things, but what makes a bad person? I think what makes a person bad isn't so clear-cut, like, all of the points that I listed, those are bad people. It's someone who is continuously doing those things and harming other people with no intention of changing, making excuses, and not working toward improvement. Fucking up becomes, this is just who I am. The acceptance of oneself being intrinsically a bad person instead of working to change that, I think is what makes a bad person. Like, if you accept, like, yeah, I'm a shitty person, that's who I am. If you just decide that you are an irredeemable person with no, like, you don't think that you have any ability to change, so you don't change, I think that makes a bad person. Bad people don't want change. Bad people want what benefits themselves. So what is good? What makes a good person? What makes good improvement, good behavior? Good people are not people who have never made mistakes or who never hurt other people. That is extremely unrealistic, and I would rather a person who has made a lot of mistakes and have hurt people and have made up for that. I'd rather a person like that who has learned from that kind of thing. I accept that more than someone who is like seemingly a perfect person. Because at least the person who has messed up so much at least has that experience, I guess. They've had those learning experiences, opportunities to see this behavior and adjust accordingly. I don't think people are considered good because they don't get angry or upset. I think it's a very human thing to have emotions, anger, sadness. Like, I think that's just who we are. It's what we do with that. I think that's the most important thing, is like, what are we doing about this behavior? Like, what are we doing to change that? What are we doing to find healthy outlets? You can be angry, but it's what you do with that anger that kind of determines your quality of character. Good people take accountability and apologize when they've done something wrong. And they also accept that people aren't going to forgive them. That's another, like, big thing, is that, like, people, both things can exist. People are capable of change, and people are not obligated to forgive someone for whatever behavior they exhibited in the past, no matter, like, how they've changed as a person. Like, forgiveness is not required. I'm not that kind of person. I don't I think that is a very culturally Christian thing to look at something as like, well, forgive them for their behavior. Like, we should be forgiving everyone, even if they're, like, bad people. Like, I don't think anyone is obligated to forgive anybody for anything. You kind of have to balance that out with seeing the good in other people and knowing that others can grow and change. It's not just improving yourself, but understanding other people can improve, and seeing that other people have been in your situation before and that they have the ability to change and should be given the ability to change. So what steps am I taking to become a better person? I think there should never be a problem without a solution. There should never be this person is doing these terrible things without also, this person needs to do this in order to change that problem. I see that for myself, for my own behavior. Like, I'm not going to present all these things that I've said and done and not also present, like, solutions to those things. Taking accountability. I mean, I consider myself a community leader in some spaces, and that is, it's my obligation to be a good community leader, especially in a community, a queer community of, like, younger folks. I don't think, I can't be the angry, vindictive person in a space like that, because then the members of that community, especially the younger members of that community, are going to think that that is okay. And you don't understand how influential someone can be, good and bad. Like, I can be a bad influence very easily in certain spaces. And the more I become known and the more that I'm growing these communities, the more people are going to be, the more seen that I am, the more visible I am. And eventually I am someone's influence. Eventually I am someone's inspiration for something. And I need that to be a good thing, not a bad thing. I consider forgiving oneself and taking accountability and self-improvement to be a form of recovery. I consider anger and vindictiveness and all these problems that I have, I consider those to be a sickness of sorts, not an excuse. Absolutely not an excuse. It is not okay to use someone's behavior as an excuse, but I do see it as something that needs fixing, that needs recovery. And I think recovery doesn't just mean that I'm going to quit drinking and smoking and that I'm going to give up such and such, or like I consider recovery to also be recovering from oneself, recovering from one's past self, and recovering from my own behaviors and improving, because it is not healthy. It is not good for the brain. It's not good for my mental health to be that kind of person and not work toward changing that. I also really want to inspire change in others. I want to be a good person and to share my story of being a bad person. I think that's super important because that's a lot more relatable than somebody who has never been seen as a bad person. I don't want to erase my past. I don't want to talk about the now without also talking about then. So I think like discussing these things and like letting people see where, like, how far I've come, I think is super important, because that's the kind of influence that I want to be. So, I mean, what do I consider myself right now? Whether I'm a good or bad person, I don't think that's really up to me. I don't think that's something that I can say that I'm doing my best, but I don't think that I can say that I'm a good person. I don't think that's up to me. I think that's up to the people who are affected by how I am and who I am. Goodness is maintained. It's not immediately like a one-time moment, like I'm good now, like me now. It's something that I have to work at, and I relapse. I make mistakes. I fall back on past behaviors, and that's part of the recovery process. It's part of my goal, not my goal, part of my journey of self-improvement. And it's normal. That's totally normal. I could relapse and start drinking again. I started smoking again, and I'm trying to quit that as well, but it's very normal for that to happen. It's not like, it's not okay, and there's no excuse for that, but that's just part of the process, is that I'm going to fail and have to catch back up again. My overall goal is not to be a good person right now, a perfect person. My goal is to be a better person today than I was yesterday. My overall goal is to be the best version of myself. Like I said, some people struggle with this kind of thing, and that's okay. I think the effort means something. I don't think people see the effort in change. I think that's something I struggle with as well. Not realizing that like somebody is trying to improve, versus someone who's never going to want to change. They really buckle down on their beliefs and on their behaviors and make excuses and just don't want to do anything to change that. And that's different than like somebody who's making a lot of mistakes but is trying to improve those mistakes. That's really all I have for this video. I will have to put an adult content warning, not really adult content warning, but just like a not general audiences content warning for the swearing and for the other themes. I'll put it in the beginning of the video on like a title card, and I'll put it in the title of the video itself. And question of the week, what are you doing to improve yourself? That's basically it. Originally, I was going to name this video, Am I a Bad Person? But that's not to be answered by me, and that's not something I have an answer for. So that had changed. And the original question was, are you a bad person? Don't answer that, please. That wasn't an appropriate question of the week. I wrote this, something had clicked, and I started writing this like a while ago, like a month and a half, 2 months ago, something like that. I started writing it and like venting basically, but in the form of an outline for a video. So the outline for this is ridiculously long and detailed, not so much like just short bullet points. So there's a lot of cuts in the videos where I'm trying to read the screen and make sure that I got everything, I guess. But hopefully that wasn't too much of a downer. I think when talking about identity, it needs to be more than just my gender, my sexuality, my labels, my neurotype. I think, I mean, I want to talk about spirituality next month. That's like one thing that I want to get into, and I've talked about other facets of identity outside of the gender, pronouns, sexuality, stuff like that. But the next video that's going to be coming out is I want to talk about basically a new gender revelation. I always talk about considering labels. I think for the last several videos I've been talking about, like, I could be this is how I relate to this term, but it doesn't exactly fit me, and I'm still looking for something that fits. But I have something that I want to talk about in the next video, so look forward to that. And other than that, I want to start putting out more filler content, just to kind of just bulk up the week, and not just do weekly videos. I'm falling a little bit behind on my recording schedule, unfortunately, but there's just a lot going on, and I'm trying to keep up with everything and make sure that I'm not falling too far behind on stuff outside of what I do for YouTube. So that's all I have for this video. Hope everyone is staying safe, and I hope everyone is finding ways to improve and to inspire change in others. It doesn't have to be a grand gesture. Just existing in someone's life could mean more to them than anything, more than you know. So continue existing in other people's lives. I think it's the best that you can do right now. And I am signing off for now. See you later.